So Trump seems to be doubling down on his plan for Gaza, while the world is calling him pretty much crazy for it. So far, no one else is sort of going along with it, besides, let's say, Netanyahu and some of Trump's close associates. We'll see where we'll go from there. It's still looking as a pretty not really something that might happen, not really a probable scenario, which some people say it might just be another way to sort of bring parties to the negotiating table. So nothing that much new there, but something we have talked about a few days ago, and there have been a few more developments on, and I think in the end are going to be much more important from sort of the long range stability of Middle East is Iran and what's going to happen about Iran. Joining me today are Alejandro and Jonathan Honig. Welcome to the reality show. And I'll go to you guys in a second. I'll just bring it in. So basically, Trump has pretty much said that he wants some sort of a deal with Iran. I think it's pretty clear that him and Netanyahu have disagreement on it. So we'll see where we'll go from here, because Netanyahu 100% prefers some sort of more aggressive scenario, either directly targeting the nuclear sites of Iran. I'm not sure if Netanyahu specifically called for any sort of regime change, but I think especially with the amount of people in Iran that are against the Iranian regime, I think something like that would be absolutely warranted. But so far, Trump seems to prefer some sort of a deal. We'll go to the reaction of Iran to that. But let me jump to you, Jonathan, first. What do you make of Trump's almost 180 degrees different view from Gaza, who he basically wants to occupy if the fully plan is fully implemented, and now with Iran he wants a deal.
It wants to deal, and I think that's the issue here. Ayn Rand was always very careful about to whom she gave her sanction, and her moral sanction, her financial sanction, sitting down with, being photographed with, and you often see that with Trump. It's like he had no issue with sitting down and having a summit with the leader of North Korea. So I think for my mind, you don't give Iran any respect, any dignity. This is the number one state sponsor of terrorism in the world. It has been for decades. And I think you refuse to meet with it and you encourage its people to rebel. I don't know if we need to explicitly or outwardly, supply those, but I just don't think you dignify statist theocracies with anything, let alone state visits and deals from free countries.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to sort of again dealing with Iran, and I mean actually like dealing with it, not sort of negotiating. Whenever you're dealing with the dictatorships, you have sort of two choices. Whenever we talk about Gaza or whenever we talk about Palestinians, Palestinians are fully bought into sort of jihadist mentality. They simply want Israel gone. There is sort of no better elements of the Palestinians that you can sort of hope to build on. Well, there is a difference with Iran. There are people in Iran who want some change. We oftentimes see that there are people protesting. That there are people who want something better. And if we make a deal with the regime, I think we are completely sort of giving up our moral view of the world, that there are people who want to be more free, and sort of we give up on them and just make a deal with the regime instead of trying something different. But Alejandro, what do you make of this deal?
I, on the one hand, is extremely depressing and angers me to death. I won't try to conceal that. When the ceasefire came through a couple of weeks ago, I commented that it was very likely that the attack on Iran that had been very much expected by Trump supporters was not going to happen. And I do think that this is going to be very much the case. I hope to be wrong. I really hope to be wrong. But what this seems to be the case is that Trump wants a deal that won't make Iran have nuclear weapons before he leaves office. And when Iran gets the weapons, he will be out of office, and that won't be a mess with him. And it will be very easy for him to blame someone else. This is a great opportunity to crash the Iran regime. As you mentioned, nobody there believes in it anymore. It's a regime that is held only upon violence and quasi civil war against its people. It's a regime that it's leadered by old, uh, geriatric, awful, disgusting, evil people that only sponsors terrorism, and which is only withheld by the reliance on oil. If there was an opportunity to get rid of that country and that government, especially that government, it was now. It is now. There is still time. Israel demonstrated that they have no capabilities of defense. That getting rid of any nuclear capabilities, of any violence capabilities that they have to use against its people would be very easy to do. What are we waiting to? But Trump doesn't want to engage in any kind of war, and he prefers a deal. If we lose this opportunity, there will be a massive problem into the future. And the one who will have blood in his hands will be Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of understand the problem with Trump, but it really is the resignation of pretty much all of American administration, all of the past American administration. But sort of, to sort of when you're judging the president's, one way of judging it is sort of, well, maybe they are better than the next guy, but also if Iran develops nuclear weapons, I don't care if like Trump was better than the alternative. The fact is that Iran developed nuclear weapons similar to North Korea. I mean, it's really like I could maybe excuse it if this was the first time it happened, but we've already seen this scenario. We invite a dictatorship to make a deal so they don't develop nuclear weapons. They keep enriching now I cannot think of the name for it, uranium. They keep enriching uranium. We know that they do it. We don't do anything about it. And then they develop nuclear weapons. And now we cannot deal with them in a similar way.
And
Jonathan?
Daniel, I'll just add, for me, it's twofold. It's the weapons. Yes, we know that they are developing the weapons, and Israel has investigated using the so-called bunker buster weapons. So we know that the technology they're investigating. But what I'm even more disconcerted, I find it more disconcerting, is that they propagate the Islamist totalitarian ideology. It's like that's where these ideas are funded. These young people grow up believing these ideas, in all the splinter groups that Iran funds globally that propagates these ideas. Ms. Rand always talks about ideas move the world, and this political Islam that, Islam takes over the world and kill the Jews and down with the West comes from countries like Iran. And so their propagation of nuclear weapons worries me, but these anti-Western, anti-Israeli ideas worry me just as much.
Yeah, I mean, again, and there is like an actual difference even when judging North Korea and Iran, because when it comes to Iran, well, yeah, the developing of the nuclear weapons are sort of something we should worry about, but they've attacked the regime started but by taking American citizens as hostages. That's how the regime started. The idea that regime sort of was alive for 2 more days after that is already like something that's disappointing. And the fact that it's here like decades later and still nothing is being done about it is
And I have to say, if Razi was here, I would make him play the tape. But you remember what Rand said? what Rand was asked about that on the Donahue clip, and she's like, paraphrasing, go look it up. If we didn't do something in 2 days, we were never going to live it down, and we never did, never did. She said if we didn't go in with guns blazing 2 days after or a day after, and she was absolutely right. Go look it up. The Rand Donahue interview from 80, maybe 79. We'll look it up.
We'll go to Iran's reaction to Trump's plan, but first let me read a few super chats. So first, Christian, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, the plan is to get rid of UNRWA by making Gazans say that they are not refugees, but at home in Gaza, and he wants Egypt and Jordan helping in post-war Gaza. That's my opinion. I mean, Egypt and Jordan are 100% against, as well as any Arab nations are against this plan. Again, no Arab nation will be in favor of making Palestinians prosper in any way. They want them to stay there so they can use them politically against Israel. That's the goal of every Arab nation. That's pretty much the only reason why Palestinians, as sort of a class of people, exist. So sort of expecting them to sort of play ball here in any way is, again, I think even if you manage to get any sort of deal, again, deals with dictatorships, that's never worked out in benefit in any way. You guys want to say anything on that, Alejandro?
Well, I think the reference is the talk that all of us three did 2 days ago regarding that. I think that now that the statements from the president's office have come out, I think he wasn't really having any plan. He just was a brain fart, from all I know, and he has no clue what he's doing.
Christian in the chat adds, because they don't want Gazans in their own country, they will help rebuild it, and that was Trump's idea, I guess. I mean, again, that could happen. That might be something that Trump wants. It would sort of explain a lot of things, because it sort of explains the problem with Gazans is not that they don't live in nice houses or that they don't have like a developed economy. They are set upon destroying Israel, and no amount of like aid. Like Gaza was the per capita of people, it was the biggest recipient of aid in the world in past.
It's a total dismissal of the importance of ideas. People think, oh, well, they're impoverished. Israel's so powerful and rich. Of course, they hate Israel. Everyone's got a cell phone in America. These poor Palestinians, everyone, they're so poor. If we just gave them an apartment, we could build Gaza into the most swankest Miami style, incredible basketball courts and all that. They would still be lobbing missiles and makeshift bombs and trash and making war on Israel, because that's what they do. These are their ideas, and their ideas. That's what needs to change.
Yeah, and unless we recognize that and sort of figure out the plan about it, that's also my sort of a worry when it comes to Trump's plan. Is like you can have even, let's say, even when he came up with the plan, it's in some ways it's almost like he's listening to our shows. But if you don't understand what it means, like you can have someone who is, Trump is for capitalism as he understands it, but unless you understand what it actually means and what it requires, it doesn't mean what you try to do with it. It's similar to when he says like make America great again. Well, unless you understand what makes America great, that's a pointless statement. That it's like, okay, like thanks, but it's not enough to just have like some general idea or some like simple way of like looking at it.
I'm really worried about the sanction that's going to come down with all of these deals. Dealing with Hamas to get these couple of hostages out, dealing with Iran. Go back, read what Ayn Rand wrote about the sanction of the victim and about legitimizing enemies and legitimizing these monsters and lifting them up and pulling yourself down for no reason. And I think I already see evidence of that. It's not even the UN. It's like literally dealing with them themselves. And Hamas has been taking victory laps since they've been, and they've been returning those hostages, but they get all their PR out, and they get to have all their videos out. inspire so many new young jihadis one day. So it's such a terrible sight, and I think we're going to be doing the same sort of appeasement with Iran.
We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. Alejandro, you wanted to jump in? Oh, we cannot hear you.
Related to that, back in the day, before Trump's breaking of all precedents, whenever you got a deal, the politicians at least had the decency of making it behind uh, closed doors. Here, Trump is talking about Palestinians being good people, people who deserve better, and then regarding his statements on Iran, he wants them to become wealthier and peaceful and to prosper. You're talking about a country that has killed your own nationals. That's not someone who deserves to get better and to prosper and to have a thriving government.
We also have a super chat from Crusader General. Thank you so much. And he says Trump has Shia Muslim advisors. Obama is one of them. Is that like a weird sort of like saying that Obama is Muslim? Is that sort of like also like a weird like conspiracy or something? Or
Just stupid and untrue, but
yeah. I mean, when you look at Trump's policy, yeah, I'm starting to believe that Obama is like secretly controlling the politics, like having a deal with Iran, like that was Obama's like first thing that he did. And when Trump took office, one of the first thing he did was he got rid of that deal, and now he wants back pretty much. I mean, what is the way he called it? He called his deal. I had it here somewhere. A verified nuclear peace agreement. I mean, it's the same. It's the same deal. Like, no, there is no mechanism you can sort of set up that you can make sure that these dictatorships are not following it. There, we had a deal when Obama was in office. Iran violated the deal, and we didn't do anything about it. I mean, if this deal happens and there is a violation while Trump is still office, is he then gonna go? Okay, we tried it. Now let's bomb the hell out of them.
I'll
Like,
just say for the record, when it comes to the sanctity of deals, you know, Trump renegotiated the NAFTA deal in his first term. I forgot it was called something like North American Trade Agreement. And then just last week, he ripped that up with all of his tariffs. So, you know,
well, there was NAFTA. Then he came up with his own deal, which I think was just called United States,
trade agreement.
Mexico. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
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 then
and
he
now and now he imposed tariffs sort of in
blew that
violation
up.
of the. Uh, yeah, I mean that's what sort of like you have no idea. So again, even when we have this deal, I mean he might just get something else. Someone in the chat says U.S. MCA, yeah, United States, Mexico, Canada deal.
Well,
Jonathan?
I mean, any deal with Iran, any deal with Hamas, any deal with the Houthis, those entities are the ones that are elevated, and that's why as Trump begins to get into it with Iran, I'm really fearful that in his hope for a win, in my business, the trading business, one of the biggest mistakes people make is that as soon as they make $100 or $1,000, they take the win, and they take it because they think, oh, I finally got a winner. But they only take this small, tiny win, and they miss the big win, which is a much bigger. And that's my fear, is that Trump is so eager for a win that he's actually not going to hold out for a real win, which be, for example, a systemic disarmament and denuclearization of Iran in particular. But some type of deal he'll hold on to as evidence that he's being tough, and it's not going to be enough. I think it's going to encourage more anti-American and Israeli sentiment and do nothing to stabilize the region. But Alejandro, what say you?
Well, I agree, and also, and maybe going in a deeper meaning of what a deal is. A deal is a contract, an agreement between two rational people who are committed to accomplishing it, to fulfilling it. With Iran, do you think that they want to fulfill it? Do you think that they want to do it with any of these people? Uh, and I mean the axis of evil, especially Russia, Iran, the Houthis, even Saudi Arabia. do you think that they are willing to respect the deals? Certainly not. They are the kind of people who will shake your hands just for you to live in peace, and they will stab you in the back. And that's not a it's so it's just such an out of context way of seeing things that I don't know. Either you're
That's
so
how I feel
gullible.
like. That's how I felt about a deal with Hamas.
Yeah.
Like, can you sit and shake a hands with a deal who have dismembered their enemies, not just shot them in the head, but gleefully gone back and cut off their body parts? I mean, are you dealing with the rational animal who wants to keep to a deal at that point? Or what the F are you dealing with?
People that kill babies. that's
Right. I mean,
that's it.
fuck is that? So, your
Uh,
point.
We have also a super chat from Robert. Thank you so much. He says, "You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it think. You can lead a populace to a new Mesopotamian Monaco, but that won't change its culture." Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. And unfortunately, that is sort of the view Trump currently has, that basically yeah, I mean, he said it openly. He says he wants the Palestinians. Like, one thing that changed the opinion of Trump, at least it said, or specifically Witkoff, was that he visited Gaza and he saw how destroyed it is, and he saw it's. He said it would be a humanitarian crisis, or it would be basically wrong to like leave Palestinians there. Instead, we should put them in like a nicer place. Again, completely ignoring, uh, completely ignoring what caused it. It's the fact that it's their culture that caused it, and completely evading that whole point. We also have another super chat from Crusader General who says Hussein is a proper Christian name, obvious evidence of Obama's Christianity. I mean, again, I have no idea what to even say to like the like. Okay, uh,
It's
yeah,
Trump's stupidity for years going, Barack Hussein Obama, like, just just stupidity, right? Like, kind of for
yeah,
for nothing.
but all right. Now bringing it back to sort of Iran's reaction. So surprisingly, basically, Iran seemed to sort of reject the deal, or sort of reject sort of Trump's advances, which again, we say that like Trump is like this like big like maker of the deals, and it's like you. Well, one, the moral. Quickly, I just want to talk about the moral travesty of this. So when Trump talks about Iran, which again is a dictatorship, who has in the past kidnapped and killed Americans, and this is what he says about Iran. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear bomb. And he also said. Reports that the United States, working in conjunction with Israel, is going to blow Iran into smithereens are greatly exaggerated. So one saying they are great people and sort of going away from the idea of like threatening Iran in any way. And then or before that, he put tariffs on America's best trading partners, on America's closest allies, Canada and Mexico. What kind of like negotiation is this? That when it comes with friends, with your allies, you're being tough on them, and when it comes with actual dictatorships, you are sort of, well, we cannot be too tough on them. We cannot be like too hard on them. Like this is more a
And I
travesty than
wish it
anything.
was ideas that he denounced as backward. Like Iran's Islamist totalitarian ideas that denigrate women, ideas that put, a non-existent God at the center of life, that, rebuke, independent thought. Like, I wish he was specific about what was so offensive about the Islamist world, and really kind of was explicit about it. So, to your point, Daniel, at the same time, I mean, if you are pissed because Canada is ripping America off with its trade deficit, you need to read anything by Henry Hazlitt, anything by Ayn Rand, read some basic economics. And Daniel, to your point of like shit talking our true friends, allied Western countries, countries that share trade. It makes me think of that quote it's attributed to Bastiat, but I think it's actually by someone else, that when goods don't cross borders, soldiers do. So countries that we trade with, we should be celebrated, win-win, as against countries that, are at war with. And that's exactly what's being identified here.
We also have a super chat, another super chat from Crusader General. Thank you so much. He says, stupidity is denying the obvious. So, just quickly, when it comes to Obama, so his father was born Muslim, my understanding. Then he became atheist. And the name of his father is Barack Hussein Obama. So, basically, he's just taking like his father's full name, and Obama, who was the president, his name is Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, I have no idea. Like, the fact that Obama is Christian is for me as well as problematic as the fact that if he was like potentially Muslim. I don't view it as like somewhat better. But I think sort of wanting to say that I think these conspiracies about saying that Obama was Muslim or that he was not born in America are rooted in I think something more fundamentally racist than anything else. So that's why whenever someone emphasizes Hussein, you're trying to like say something about the person.
Do you remember, Daniel? You were a kid at the time, but John McCain was asked on the, and Alejandro, you might have been very young at the time. John McCain was asked on the campaign trail by a little old lady, Barack Obama, I don't think he was born here, something to the effect of like, he's a Muslim or something like that. And McCain, who I did not like at all, to his credit, was like, no, 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 he's an American. He was born there. Showed a little respect, like a little element of couth and respect for your fellow American that's gone today on either side of the American political spectrum.
Yeah, and this witty, this mixture of witty comments against people trying to insult someone or trying to assert that someone is of another tribe that you don't accept, it's the perfect example of people not being able to defend better ideas. And sometimes these people that don't defend better ideas cling to even worse ideas than the people who are trying to break apart the country. And that's what you have seen progressively ever since McCain. It's the people who were allegedly more in favor of a more conservative or more freedom-loving kind of views now are clinging to things that are simply unwatchable. And that's what you see previous to the collapse of many civilizations. The better things that used to move the civilization are no longer being defended, and this is a great example of that.
Just to bring it back, so when it came to Trump, also when it came to deal with Iran, he has said, I would much prefer a verified nuclear peace agreement, which will let Iran peacefully grow and prosper, he wrote on Truth Social. We should start working on it immediately and have a big Middle East celebration when it is signed and completed. Like what this is like like elementary school, almost like like you when you make like the UN sort of like recreation and you talk about peace. Like what kind of what is this like kumbaya? Like we just signed one deal and then we can like have a peace in the Middle East. Like again, it's like whenever I read almost like stuff that Trump says, I'm almost like, this would be funny if it was like an onion piece, not like an actual statement from the president of the United States. Like a complete lack of like even like like understanding of what's really happening here. I mean, Alejandro, you mentioned here again this idea that he wants Iran to prosper. Like they've injured, killed, kidnapped Americans in the past. Why would you ever want? And like he recognized it. He did something against Iran in the past. He killed Soleimani, which my understanding is that was like a big deal. Like Soleimani was not someone you could like easily replace for Iran, and it was like a huge, like problem for them. And now he forgot about it. Is he becoming senile? Maybe.
No, he used to be better advised. Back in the day, you had Bolton. Now he got rid of Bolton. Now apparently Bolton is like this Satan-like figure, if you hear his statements. And he has surrounded apparently by people who don't really want to engage in the Middle East, who want to get rid of that problem and focus more on China. And that's it. And I mean, and even then, yes, Soleimani, maybe you could have said that it was a good riddance. That that didn't change things, regardless of what the BBC and his acolytes said. That they were, I remember people fearing World War III, and seemingly serious people trying to search for bunkers. That was crazy. Nothing was going to happen. They just killed the guy. That's it.
I really just wonder. I wish there could be an appeal, and maybe I'm talking about my keister here, but because I really don't know, maybe our audience knows. We have a global audience, and by the way, we're getting super chats in, and we need them. We bring to you 7 days a week programming inspired by Ayn Rand's objectivism. Daniel, Alejandro, Razi, so many other people here work really hard to bring you this original material. We take today's headlines, strip them from those headlines, and smack on our understanding of Ayn Rand's objectivism. So every couple of shekels you can send us, pounds, dollars, really goes so far in helping us kind of spread the word and keep it out there. So I really appreciate that. And Daniel, just thinking about what is the state on the ground in Iran, and my sense was during the late stages of the Cold War, it was American and the West speaking to young Soviets, whether it be Pepsi Cola or Michael Jackson or the government themselves, and encouraging them to stand up and rise up and and Mr. Gorbachev turned down that wall, ultimately came, but like appealing to not Khomeini, but appealing to young, moderate, progressive Iranians to throw off that garb and to start to demand rights, demand Western liberals. I mean, I do believe in Iran as being a modern, rights respecting country, but it is the people who have to want it. They have to be brave enough to want it. Boy, I'd love to see our American government facilitating and speaking up for some of that. What do you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, I can speak from my own, what at least I've seen in my own country, both when we got rid of communism, large part of that were students going out on the streets and protesting that led to the eventual fall. Then later on, when same thing in Slovakia, when we had the big problem when one journalist was murdered, and there were again protests, and there were many of them were led by sort of students, by sort of ordinary people. These things always happen. It's when because again, you can have problems in a country. Every single, like, none of these totalitarian dictatorships are like good places to be in. But as long as it's sort of like it's not that big of a deal, people are sort of complacent, then it's not like you cannot really have a revolution. But when there is like that switch, when it's like this is no longer acceptable, when the general population is fully against the regime, that's when regimes fall. That's when this happens. And when we come in and say no, things are going to be good in Iran, no, we should say, like, both to the people of Iran, that they need to do something, and also saying to them, if you do, we'll support you. We'll support you to the best things we can. We won't sanction the government. We won't help the government to, because again, any sort of trade with Iran, any sort of allow, like, something we have to mention is apparently Trump has restored some of the sanctions, which again are good for the most part, but not enough. Any sort of trade Iran gets, they can use it to oppress their population more, to keep their population in check. It's we have to sort of create the circumstances for something to change, and Trump either doesn't understand it, doesn't understand what it takes, or he simply doesn't want to. I don't know which one is worse. But something I'll bring up, and then I go to you guys. Something that Trump has apparently brought up, and someone mentioned it in the chat, that basically he ordered his administration that if Iran assassinates Trump, then we should obliterate Iran. And I have a lot to say on that, but let me start with Alejandro. What do you make of this decision?
Well, I think he shouldn't wait and go ahead with Iran right now. First of all, they will already try to kill him. If that's his motivations, he doesn't have to wait. Second of all, why is he more important than any other American? Why is this orange awful people more important than any single person that has been already killed by Iran and his proxies? Uh, Back in the day, during COVID, I remember that he got access to a very specific treatment when he got COVID that nobody else in the country and in the world got access to because it was forbidden. He got a specific acceptance to use it. I think back in the day it was so annoying. In Europe, that's accepted. Politicians are treated as some kind of special people, people that are above citizens. But in America, which you tend to see them upwards as someone where even the people at the top are as important as any other citizen, I think it's disgusting. The fact that this guy thinks that his death is the only thing that will motivate attacking Iran is to be honest repellent. He shouldn't wait if he thinks that it's that important.
Yeah,
Jonathan?
where's the line? I think it's in Ayn Rand Answers, where Ayn Rand talks about, like, Americans think of their presidents like Hank or, like, Uncle, but there's a familiarity and they're
Don't
on
let
the
it
same.
go.
Yeah,
It's in
go ahead. Sorry.
it's in the essay. Don't let it go.
It's in Don't Let It Go. Okay, thank you, Alejandro. Brilliant. Of course you know that. Go listen, read that. What Miss Rand thought of isn't, and Alejandro is exactly right. What in America, it isn't the sense that, oh well, the politicals are these higher level superhumans that they get all the special treats and just us down animals down there. They were everyday people that, so to your point, Daniel, I agree with Alejandro wholeheartedly. Like, if Iran is a threat, that level of a threat, why wait for them to assassinate anyone? And why does his assassination require a wholehearted response, but picking off a couple of dudes outside the Caucasus, New Jersey, at a mall only gets what, a couple of bombs dropped? I mean, it's such a whim-based way to even conduct foreign policy. What about something that says one American hurt anywhere in the world and we're leveling your fucking country? Say it really clear, make it really comprehensive, and take it seriously. But that's not what it's about. It's his own narcissist thing of, they wouldn't touch me, and if they do, it's gonna just. So be serious about protecting Americans. That's your job as commander in chief. So I worry about these deals. I worry about deals with the Middle East in particular, and I'm hoping that we get the hard line approach towards countries that don't respect others' rights that I feel like we've been promised for years.
Yeah, I'll send something on Trump soon. We have Christian in the chat say, I agree with the critic at Trump, but at least he made the mullahs tremble and not laugh. I I don't know if they are trembling. I mean, the way they respond, like to me, it's almost surprising the way they responded. I mean, they almost, I don't know if see weakness, but Trump has said, "I'm going to negotiate with you guys," and he hasn't threatened to them. And the way the Muslims have responded is, well, first of all, Trump said something like, "I'm willing to negotiate, but if it falls through, then something might happen." And Iran has responded, "Don't threaten us, we'll threaten you back." This is not like something you'll hear from someone who is scared. Like they see through Trump, they see something. And again, Trump has all justifications to do something about Iran and has all blessing by me. He doesn't need that. I'm not a voter, but he has blessing of like many people. I don't want to say most of the world, because most of the world sucks on this issue as sort of every other nation. But yes, sort of bringing it back to Trump. I mean, something that is sort of something that is unique about America, or specifically about the presidency, is when there was the title was created by George Washington, president was viewed as something modest, as not. Again, we are talking about 18th century, the land of kings and emperors, and he took like a humble title of president, and I think it should always stay there. And Trump is not some sort of a monarch. He's not some sort of sovereign. We should like be happy when he does something nice. Or like, oh, he governed nice. Thank you so much. You know, Zelensky, before he became president, he had a show called The Public Servant. Public servant is what presidents are. They are our employees. They should work on behalf of us. We shouldn't like bow down to them. We shouldn't like be happy when they do something nice. They go into office to work for us. That's what we have politicians for. We have them there because we as citizens cannot like deal with the law in every single day, and sort of we have our representatives. That's what they are representatives of our on our behalf. They should do what we want. We should, and that's something that sort of even MAGA people oftentimes say, like that politicians don't work for the behalf of them. So in the similar way, we should expect from Trump something more than, well, he did something nice for us, let's thank him for that. And anything you guys like to jump in? There are a few. Yeah, Jonathan.
Well, I'll just say, I mean, there's this great confusion about what should government do. Gee, what is a government? Why do we have a government? Is a government, shouldn't a good government provide health care, medicine, all this, or is that a bad government? And Rand, and I'm sure Daniel, you can plop it in the show notes. Rand has a wonderful essay called "The Nature of Government." It's not very long. It's like maybe 1,000 words that she goes over exactly this very methodically. And the thing about reading Ayn Rand is that she doesn't waste words like the three of us gentlemen do. In probably 900 or 1,000 words, Rand illuminates exactly what is government, why we need it, what's its purpose, what should it be restricted to, how it should be funded and established and maintained. And her work blows you away. And this is a great place to start. If you haven't read Ayn Rand, The Nature of Government, pick it up again. And it's available for free. It's in our show notes. It's online. The Nature of Government, Ayn Rand, is a must. And as you think about what Sudan could look like, or Gaza could look like, or God willing, America or Tel Aviv could look like, the rest of the world, The Nature of Government is a great place to start. Ayn Rand. I believe it's in Capitalism the Unknown as well. Alejandro, you probably know it as well, but start there with a great bit of Rand on what kind of government we really need.
And
Yeah, Alejandro.
maybe as an appendix to this, a couple of days ago, when he signed the tax, what's the name of the taxes on trade,
Tariffs?
the tariffs, he was asked if some people were going to suffer, and he was like, yeah, some of them, but this is all to make America great. Well, how are you measuring greatness if greatness isn't improving the lives and prosperity and possibilities of your citizens? Then how do you measure greatness? Is it land? Is doubling up the land? Is adding Canada and Greenland how you measure that the US is a better country? Is it respect? Is it that anytime that you see a country, they bow down to you or to the leader? Is that what greatness means, or is it freedom of its citizens? And I'm not saying that Trump is the first person who introduced this to the political lingo and acceptance, but I think he's been, from all the presidents that I follow in my life of the US, he's been the most explicit one in this regard, and it's really eerie to hear it.
Yeah, something else to bring up when it comes to sort of again the way like Trump speaks about that he, if he dies, something will be done. Again, there was already assassination attempt on his life by Iran. We in November 2024, Department of Justice unsealed charges against 3 individuals connected to Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. another thing, like when there was this is also my like big problem with Trump. When there was the operation after Soleimani was killed, there was the operation by Iran, Operation Martyr Soleimani, where they've attacked American what do you call them, military base. And again, he didn't do anything about it afterwards. So again, it was this sort of like trade. We killed some of their guys, and they injured some of their guys, and okay, that's okay. But Jonathan, you
Isn't
wanna
it
jump in?
funny too that he says, "Look, if Iran attacks me, I want a full-scale demolishing of the country. But if they attack John Bolton, well, it's Bolton's fault. He didn't get his own security."
Yeah, I mean, we haven't covered that story, but something that was truly like that's almost on like authoritarian level. He pulled out the security detail for John Bolton. Basically, he didn't have
Whom
the security.
Has made verified threats.
Yeah, and this is literally like something like John Bolton was someone who was in Trump administration, as with many people who were in Trump's first administration. They refused to endorse him for his second term. Pretty much no one from her first administration likes Trump now, and now he's pulling out the security details for political actors who he doesn't like. Again, and sort of to like make a difference. When there were some possibilities about assassination attempt on Trump, Biden himself came out and said, if there is something that happens to Trump, I will punish any country that does anything
Of
like
course.
that. Because yeah, we are, even when it comes to Americans, we should be, well, I'm not American, but when it comes to sort
Yeah.
of Democrats, the Democrats and Republicans, there should be understanding that first and foremost we are all Americans, and we deal with outside threats, and then yeah, we deal with our own things, but we don't use outside influence to kill our own political opponents because we don't like them. Like that's you are on like a road to sort of some authoritarian style
But
of government.
this isn't new with Trump. Don't you remember back in the day when when we realized that Jeff Bezos was having an affair? Do you remember how we knew that? It wasn't because there was TMZ and they realized it. The precedent for that is Khashoggi getting killed in Turkey. The Washington Post publishing it, and the Prince of Saudi Arabia sending a message to Jeff Bezos and putting a Trojan in his phone to get to know everything that is on his phone. You have a blatant attack on free speech. What did Trump do?
I don't
Nothing.
even remember that. Yeah.
I think, and the reason that there wasn't more fuss about that, it's because the aggravated part was Bezos.
Yeah, and that's again something that sort of fills me with more worry than I sort of would like in the next 4 years. Something else I want to bring up again, this whenever people sort of even try to defend Trump or something similar, it's they say, well, he is too prideful in his own image, so he won't do anything bad because he has too good view of himself. And something that sort of reaffirms it, again, I'm not sure how many people sort of follow the January 6 hearings, but something we know from sort of internal correspondence is when people started getting broken into Capitol, Donald Trump Jr. has supposedly been talking to, I think, some assistant or someone, saying Trump needs to speak out against it. And he didn't say because this is bad for America or because this shouldn't happen. He said this is bad for Trump's image. That's the only thing they cared about on that date, is like, this looks bad for Trump and we cannot allow this to happen. And sort of something that sort of worries me again about this is this idea of, Trump, he's the president of peace. But peace is not like, when you're peaceful when it comes to dealing with dictatorships, when it comes to dealing with actual war, that's not something that should be applauded. That's not something positive. Just because you make deals with dictatorships, that's not something that's good for you. So this whole idea about president of peace, and doesn't even is not even really true. But even then, it's not something that is like by default sort of good. Jonathan?
That's definitely my closing cost. My closing point is that any, deal, any appeasement, any arrangement with evil benefits evil. And even if you're getting a hostage or something you think, delay in a nuclear development, something deal, it benefits them short term and long term. I think that's certainly been the case with the hostages and Hamas. It'll be the case with Iran, and Trump wants to show that he's going to be doing something. So there's going to be some kind of a appeasement with Iran. And it's a real shame. Read what this Rand wrote about appeasing evil, and read what Dr. Peikoff wrote about loving your animals. I wrote a book with Dr. Peikoff called Can You Really Love a Dog? It's available at Amazon. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's the philosophy of pet ownership. And I encourage all of our listeners to check it out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, just one last thing I'd like to bring up is specifically Netanyahu's role in this. When it came to sort of the plan for Gaza, it at least in some ways it sounds like Netanyahu had some role in that. He might have not known specifically how far Trump would go, but it seemed like he had some ways of or some sort of way of convincing Trump to basically be tougher on Gaza, at least in his understanding. Now, something when it comes to Iran, they clearly have a different view on it. I think they've explicitly said it. I'm not sure if it was Trump or Netanyahu saying about the other person, but basically, I think Trump was saying that he views this differently than Netanyahu, and I think Netanyahu has much more better view of this, much more better understanding of that something needs to happen about Iran, and something that I hope for is that we'll see something from Netanyahu or some way of convincing Trump that really it is like Iran has to be dealt with. And again, the fact that we have to rely on like a leader of a different country to sort of convince the leader of this country to like do the right thing is disappointing. But it's something I guess we get to used to. But Alejandro, what do you? Trump is not exactly known for his consistency when it comes to making like having anything consistent. But sort of, what do you think will happen with this deal, sort of going forward,
Well,
or
it's
potentially?
depressing. What are we clinging on that this deal doesn't happen? Iran ditching it as irrationally as they can be, but that's a possible scenario. Saudi Arabia saying, "Hey, you're our friend. Don't dare to talk to them." Or maybe Netanyahu trying to say something better. But at the same time, let's remember Netanyahu is certainly the worst enemy of Israelis in the way that he has behaved, not in the way that he has talked, certainly in the way that he has behaved. He is very he's uh, a, a coward at the end of his behaviors. So I wouldn't count on him that much, sadly. Um, do I want to be to be shut up and that Netanyahu is able to tell me otherwise and prove me otherwise with his actions? I would love so, please. But I don't think that he will be a massive force for good.
Yeah, I mean, something before the election even happened, before Trump was even elected, I was saying that we won't see anything positive sort of happening in Iran and most likely in Gaza. And something that happened before his even inauguration is that he forced Netanyahu into making the deal, and sort of someone might say I might want to do like I told you so, but like that was a truly depressing thing that happened. I have no desire to like be right. You know if I'm right on when it comes to sort of Trump dealing with this, we are like screwed. And so I sort of, it's not that I hope I'm right. I need to be wrong for like Israel and for like Middle East to have any sort of future. But Jonathan, any thoughts from you?
No, just thanks to our super chatters. As I said, we're here 7 days a week, and we analyze. We bring you original programming. We bring you some of the biggest thinkers and scholars in objectivism, and we do it with like £5 and £10 a month. So become a regular super chat member. Hit us up on the super chat now, £5 or £10 every show. It means so much to helping us stay here 7 days a week. You can catch up on shows on YouTube afterwards. After the fact, you've always got this library of information that's applying Ayn Rand's, and she told us to refer to ourselves as students, and we all are. We're students of Miss Rand's objectivism. So join us as we discover it and apply it and better our lives as a result. Thank you all very much.
We also have a super chat from Crusader General. Thank you so much. He says, Satan is the father of all lies. And with that message, I think we can wrap up. Alejandro, any last thoughts from you? And also, where can people find you?
Well, please don't remember that hope dies at last. There's still time to defeat Iran. We could save ourselves a lot of sweat, a lot of anguish, a lot of geopolitical problems into the future if we acted now. There's still time. How can people hear more about this, about me? You can read the Substack of ARCUK. I've written a couple of essays over there. Several other people have written essays over there. We have a more editorial view. I recommend, for instance, Rassi's article on the peace movement in Israel. He's really good over there. So glance at it, take a look, plunge into our views over there.
And with that, thank you guys for joining me today. We'll be back tomorrow with an episode of the Daily Objective. And bye-bye.